The ceramic plate hit the table with more force than necessary, and you could practically feel the tension radiating from Emma Carter's clenched jaw. If you've ever worked in service, you know that look. The one that says she's mentally drafting her resignation letter while smiling through gritted teeth. "Table 7 needs their check," Sarah hissed, rushing past with a tray of desserts balanced on one palm. "And try not to look like you want to murder someone." "Tips, Emma. Think about the tips." Emma forced her face into something resembling pleasantness and grabbed the leather check holder from the server station. The Riverside Cafe wasn't fancy by Manhattan standards. No Michelin stars, no celebrity chef. Just honest food served in a brick-walled space in the West Village that had somehow survived 3 decades of rising rents and changing tastes. The kind of place where regulars knew the staff by name and tourists stumbled in by accident, then left 5-star reviews. It was also the kind of place where Emma Carter, former high school English teacher with a master's degree in literature, now spent her days refilling water glasses and pretending her life hadn't imploded 2 years ago. "Enjoying your evening?" she asked table 7. Her voice professionally warm as she approached. The couple, somewhere in their 60s and clearly celebrating something, beamed up at her. "Wonderful, dear," the woman said, her hand resting on her husband's. The salmon was perfection. "Please tell the chef." "I absolutely will." Emma placed the check folder between them. "No rush at all. Whenever you're ready." This was the part of the job she didn't hate. The genuine moments, the real connections. The couple reminded her of her parents before the accident. Before everything changed. Before she'd made the mistakes that had cost her everything. "Emma." Marco's voice boomed from the kitchen pass. "VIP just sat at booth 9. Vincent says give them the full treatment." Emma's stomach tightened. VIP meant demanding. VIP meant someone who thought their bank account entitled them to treat service staff like furniture. She'd had enough of those tonight already. Booth 9 sat in the corner, the restaurant's best table with its leather banquette and perfect view of the tiny garden patio. The man sitting there alone was already on his phone, his other hand impatiently drumming on the white tablecloth. Everything about him screamed money. The tailored suit that probably cost more than Emma made in 6 months. The watch catching the dim lighting, definitely a Patek Philippe. The posture of someone who'd never been told no in his entire life. Emma took a breath, grabbed a menu, and approached with her professional smile firmly in place. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to Riverside Cafe. Can I start you with something to drink?" He didn't look up from his phone. "Scotch, Macallan 18 if you have it. If not, whatever's closest. And water. Sparkling. Not tap. No, please." No acknowledgement that she was a human being standing there. Just orders barked like she was Alexa with legs. "We have Macallan 25, Emma said, her smile not wavering. "I'll bring that right out." "The 25 is fine." He waved his hand dismissively, still not making eye contact. "And I'll need to order quickly." "I have a meeting at 8. Emma glanced at her watch. It was 6:47. She bit back her first response and simply said, "Of course. I'll be right back with your scotch." In the service station, she pressed her forehead against the cool wall for exactly 3 seconds. This was fine. She'd dealt with worse. That tech bro last week who'd snapped his fingers at her like she was a dog. The woman who'd sent back her meal 3 times, then left a 5% tip. The bachelor party that had accidentally grabbed her ass. This was just another entitled Manhattan businessman who thought the world revolved around him. She'd serve him, he'd leave, and she'd never have to see him again. The Macallan 25 poured amber and smooth into the crystal glass. Emma added the sparkling water with lemon to her tray and returned to booth 9. The man had finally put his phone down and was studying the menu with the intensity of someone decoding nuclear launch codes. "Your scotch, sir." She placed it on the coaster with practiced precision. "And your water. Have you had a chance to—" "The duck breast," he interrupted, not looking up. "But I want it medium, not medium rare like your menu says. And substitute the fingerling potatoes for asparagus. No butter, no oil. Just grilled." Emma wrote it down. "The duck is really best at medium rare, but I'll make sure. I didn't ask for a culinary opinion. I asked for it medium." Now he looked up, and Emma found herself staring into eyes so blue they were almost startling. Cold, calculating, but undeniably striking. Is that going to be a problem? Something in his tone, the casual arrogance, the assumption that she was too stupid to have an opinion, made something snap inside Emma's carefully maintained professional demeanor. No problem at all, she said, her smile sharpening slightly. Though I feel compelled to point out that it's medium rare, not medium rare. You want medium, just medium. No then necessary in that sentence structure. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah, passing by with the tray, actually stopped mid-step. Marco's head appeared in the kitchen pass window, eyes wide. Even the couple at table 7 paused their conversation. The man in booth 9 stared at Emma like she'd just spoken in ancient Sumerian. His jaw actually dropped slightly, those blue eyes widening in something between shock and disbelief. "Excuse me," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. Emma knew she should backtrack, apologize, save her job. But looking at his expression, the absolute audacity of his offense that someone had dared correct him, she felt a reckless energy surge through her veins. "Your grammar," she said, keeping her voice pleasant and professional. "You said medium rare like your menu says when comparing it to how you want it cooked. But you weren't actually comparing two things, so like was incorrect. You simply wanted to state that the menu says medium rare. No comparison word needed." She tilted her head slightly. "Though I suppose some style guides might allow colloquial usage in spoken language, so perhaps I'm being pedantic." The man's face had gone through several shades of red. "Are you seriously correcting my grammar right now? You asked if there would be a problem with your order. I was simply clarifying the language to avoid any confusion." Emma's smile could have cut glass. "Communication is important in service, don't you think?" For a long, breathless moment, no one in the restaurant moved. Emma could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. What was she doing? This man was clearly someone important, someone who could probably get her fired with a single phone call to Vincent, the owner. She just committed career suicide over a grammar correction. But God, it felt good. The man slowly set down his menu, his movements controlled and deliberate. When he spoke, his voice was ice cold. "What's your name?" "Emma." She met his gaze directly, refusing to flinch. "Emma Carter." "Well, Emma Carter." He leaned back in the booth, studying her with new intensity. "I've been making business deals worth millions of dollars for over a decade. I've negotiated with Fortune 500 CEOs, presented to boards of directors, and closed acquisitions in 3 languages. And you're telling me I don't know how to speak English correctly?" "I'm telling you that you made a grammatical error," Emma corrected. "Which is human. We all make them. I just thought you'd want to know." She paused, then added with devastating sweetness, "Since you seem like the type of person who values precision." Something flickered in those blue eyes. Not anger anymore, but something else. Curiosity? Amusement? Emma couldn't quite read it. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid," he said finally. "Why can't I be both?" Emma countered. "Now, would you like to hear our specials, or shall we continue this linguistic debate? Because I have other tables, and you have a meeting at 8. The corner of his mouth twitched. Just barely, but Emma caught it. "The duck, medium, no butter on the asparagus, and—" He paused, his eyes never leaving hers. "Bring me the most grammatically perfect sentence you can construct describing tonight's dessert special." Emma blinked. "I'm sorry?" "You heard me." He picked up his scotch, swirling it thoughtfully.
"If you're going to correct my English, I want to see yours."
Consider it a challenge, the absolute audacity of this man. But Emma felt a smile tugging at her own lips despite herself. "Fine. I'll bring you a sentence that would make Strunk and White weep with joy. I look forward to it, Emma Carter." The way he said her name, slow and deliberate, sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. She turned on her heel and walked away, very aware that his eyes were following her movement across the restaurant. Sarah ambushed her at the server station, gripping her arm with barely contained panic. "Are you insane? Do you know who that is? Some asshole in an expensive suit?" Emma grabbed her order pad, writing up the duck order with slightly trembling hands. The adrenaline was starting to wear off and reality was setting in. "That's Alexander Thornton," Sarah hissed. "Alexander Thornton, as in Thornton Technologies. As in one of the richest men under 40 in New York. As in he could buy this entire restaurant with his pocket change and turn it into a parking lot just for fun." Emma's stomach dropped. Oh, that's all you've got?" "Emma, you just grammar-checked a billionaire." "A billionaire who made a grammatical error," Emma said, but her voice lacked conviction now. She glanced back at booth 9, where Alexander Thornton was back on his phone looking perfectly composed. like he hadn't just been publicly corrected by his waitress. Marco leaned through the kitchen pass. Vincent's going to lose his mind when he finds out. That guy's been trying to get Thornton to invest in the restaurant expansion for months. Perfect. Emma had potentially destroyed her boss's business dreams along with her own employment. All because she couldn't keep her mouth shut about a minor grammatical mistake. Maybe he won't tell Vincent, Emma said hopefully. Sarah snorted. Men like Alexander Thornton? They tell everyone everything, especially when they've been embarrassed. He's probably already on the phone with his lawyer figuring out how to sue you for emotional damage. But when Emma risked another glance at booth 9, Alexander Thornton didn't look upset. He looked thoughtful. His phone was forgotten on the table, and he was staring into his scotch with a slight smile on his face. That was somehow more unsettling than anger would have been. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of anxiety. Emma served her other tables on autopilot, hyper-aware of booth 9 in her peripheral vision. The duck came out perfectly medium, the asparagus grilled without a hint of oil. She delivered it with shaking hands and a carefully neutral expression. Your dinner, sir. Medium duck breast with grilled asparagus. Alexander looked up at her, and Emma was struck again by how intense his gaze was, like he could see straight through her carefully constructed walls. Thank you. He picked up his knife and fork, then paused. You forgot something. Emma's mind raced. Had she forgotten the bread basket? Extra napkins. I'm sorry, what did I... The grammatically perfect sentence about dessert. Oh, right. In all the chaos, she'd actually forgotten about his ridiculous challenge. Emma straightened her spine, channeling every ounce of her former teaching persona. Tonight's dessert special, she began, her voice clear and precise, is a dark chocolate torte, served with a raspberry coulis and garnished with fresh mint, which our pastry chef, Maria, has been perfecting for 3 years, and which I can personally attest. Tastes absolutely divine. Alexander set down his silverware, giving her his full attention. That was one sentence? One perfectly constructed sentence with proper comma usage, a non-restrictive relative clause, and a parallel structure in the final clause, Emma confirmed. No grammatical errors, unlike some people. This time his smile was unmistakable, slow, devastating, and completely genuine. You're remarkable, Emma Carter. Emma's heart did something complicated in her chest. I'm just a waitress who paid attention in English class. No, Alexander said quietly, his eyes never leaving hers. You're not just anything. The moment stretched between them, charged with something Emma couldn't quite name. Tension, yes, but also recognition, like they were both seeing something in each other that the rest of the world missed. Enjoy your duck, Emma managed finally, retreating before she did something stupid like blush. Alexander Thornton stayed for exactly 1 hour. He ate his dinner in silence, responded to emails on his phone, and nursed his scotch with the focused intensity of someone solving complex problems in his head. But every time Emma passed his table, she felt his eyes on her, watching, assessing, calculating something she couldn't begin to guess. When he finally requested his check, Emma delivered it with steady hands and her best professional smile. Thank you for dining with us this evening. He opened the leather folder, glanced at the total, and pulled out his wallet. But instead of a credit card, he withdrew several $100 bills, far more than the check required. Keep the change, he said, standing and buttoning his suit jacket. At his full height, he was imposing. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of presence that made people step aside without realizing it. Sir, this is too much. Consider it hazard pay for dealing with my grammatically incorrect ordering. His smile was slight but genuine. And Emma? Yes? I'll be back tomorrow night. Same table, same time. He adjusted his cuffs, a gesture that was probably unconscious but looked practiced. I suggest you prepare more perfect sentences. I'm going to need them. Before Emma could respond, he was walking toward the door, his phone already at his ear, barking orders to someone about quarterly projections and market analysis, like the last hour had been a brief intermission in his real life. Sarah appeared at Emma's elbow the second he was gone. What just happened? Why is he coming back? Oh my God, is that how much he tipped you? Emma stared at the bills in her hand. $300. For one dinner and a grammar lesson. I have no idea, she admitted. But I think I might be in trouble. Trouble? Marco laughed from the kitchen pass. Karita, you're either about to get fired or about to become a millionaire's girlfriend. With men like Alexander Thornton, there's no in-between. Emma looked down at the money, then toward the door where Alexander Thornton had disappeared into the Manhattan night. Something told her Marco was right. Whatever had just started between them, it wasn't going to be simple, safe, or sane. And the terrifying part? She was actually looking forward to tomorrow. You know that feeling when you wake up and immediately regret every decision you made the night before? That was Emma Carter at 6:47 a.m., staring at her bedroom ceiling in her shoebox apartment in Astoria, replaying the moment she'd corrected a billionaire's grammar like it was a horror movie she couldn't turn off. What had she been thinking? More importantly, why had he said he was coming back? Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Sarah. Vincent knows. He wants to see you before shift. Good luck, bestie, followed by a prayer hands emoji and a coffin emoji. Perfect. Emma dragged herself through her morning routine, her mind spinning through possible explanations she could give Vincent. Sorry, I potentially destroyed your investor relationship, but his sentence structure was really bothering me. Probably wouldn't cut it. The subway ride into Manhattan felt longer than usual. Every stop a countdown to her probable unemployment. She'd been fired before. That's how she'd ended up at Riverside Cafe in the first place. But that had been different. That had been a scandal. Accusations. Her entire teaching career imploding because she'd trusted the wrong person. This was just her own stupidity and inability to keep her mouth shut. Vincent. DeLuca was waiting in his office when Emma arrived at 4 p.m., 2 hours before her shift. He was a short, round man in his 60s who'd owned Riverside for 30 years and treated his staff like family, which made this conversation so much worse. Emma, sit. He gestured to the chair across from his cluttered desk. His tone was neutral, which was somehow more terrifying than anger would have been. Vincent. I can explain. Alexander Thornton called me this morning. Vincent leaned back in his chair, studying her with an expression she couldn't read. At 7 a.m., on my personal cell phone that maybe 10 people have the number to. Emma's stomach dropped. I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. I'll apologize to him tonight if he actually shows up. I'll grovel if you want. He wants to buy the restaurant. Emma's brain screeched to a halt. What? The entire restaurant. Riverside Cafe. He made an offer this morning. Generous doesn't begin to cover it. Vincent rubbed his face. 30 years I've been trying to expand, to maybe open a second location. Never had the capital. And now Alexander Thornton wants to hand me enough money to retire to Sicily and live like a king. Because I corrected his grammar? Emma's voice came out strangled. That doesn't make any sense. That's what I said. So I asked him directly, why Riverside? Why now? You know what he told me? Vincent leaned forward. He said, and I quote, any restaurant that employs someone with such commitment to linguistic excellence clearly has standards worth investing in. Emma felt like she'd fallen into an alternate dimension. He's buying the restaurant because I grammar checked him. According to him, yes. Vincent pulled out a folder, flipping through papers that looked very legal and very expensive. But here's the interesting part. The offer has conditions. The restaurant keeps its name, keeps its current staff, and keeps operating exactly as it does now. He doesn't want to change anything. He just wants to own it. Why? Vincent's eyes met hers, sharp despite his age. That's what I'm asking you, Emma. Why does a tech billionaire suddenly want to buy a small Italian restaurant in the West Village? And why did he specifically ask if you'd be working tonight? Heat crept up Emma's neck. I don't know. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like Alexander Thornton is interested in more than just real estate. Vincent closed the folder. Look, you're a good worker. Great even. But you've been here 2 years and I still don't know anything about you. Where you came from. Why a woman with your vocabulary and education is serving tables. Everyone has a past, Emma said quietly. They do. And I respect privacy. But if your past is going to intersect with my restaurant being bought by one of New York's most powerful men, I need to know what I'm dealing with. Emma looked down at her hands. The same hands that used to hold red pens, grading essays and writing encouraging comments in margins. The same hands that had trembled when she'd been called into the principal's office and accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a student. A lie, a complete fabrication by a vindictive parent whose son had failed her class. But the investigation had been public, humiliating, and even though she'd been cleared, the damage was permanent. I was a teacher, she said finally. High school English. I loved it. Then someone made accusations that weren't true, and even after I was cleared, no school would hire me. You can't teach when parents look at you with suspicion, when your name is forever linked to scandal in Google searches. Vincent's expression softened. Emma, so I came to New York, started over. And now I serve food instead of Shakespeare. She met his eyes. That's my story. Nothing dramatic, just life being unfair and me doing what I had to do to survive. And Alexander Thornton? I have no idea what he wants. Emma stood, needing to move. I corrected his grammar because it annoyed me that someone so arrogant couldn't even structure a sentence properly. I didn't think. I just reacted. And now apparently he's buying your restaurant? It's insane. It is, Vincent agreed. But it's also happening. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What could she do? Emma had no control over whether Vincent sold. No say in Alexander Thornton's bizarre business decisions. She was just a waitress who'd made a mistake that had somehow spiraled into something incomprehensible. I'm going to work my shift, she said finally. And if he shows up, I'll serve him professionally and hope he gets bored with whatever game he's playing. Vincent nodded slowly. For what it's worth, Emma, I don't think this is a game to him. Men like Thornton don't waste time on games. They have a goal, and they pursue it with everything they have. He paused. The question is, what's his goal? Emma wished she knew. At exactly 6:47 p.m., Alexander Thornton walked through Riverside Cafe's door like he owned the place, which technically he was in the process of doing. He wore a different suit today, charcoal gray with a crisp white shirt and no tie, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread titled Billionaires Who Could Ruin Your Life. Sarah grabbed Emma's arm hard enough to leave marks. He's here. Oh God, he's actually here. And he's looking at you. Why is he smiling like that? Emma looked. Alexander was indeed smiling, a small, satisfied expression that made her stomach do complicated things. He walked directly to booth 9, sat down, and pulled out his phone. Waiting. I hate everything about this, Emma muttered, but she grabbed a menu and headed over. You could see the entire restaurant watching. Marco had his face pressed against the kitchen pass window. Vincent was standing near the bar, arms crossed, observing like a scientist studying a particularly interesting experiment. Good evening. Mr. Thornton. Emma placed the menu in front of him with careful precision. Back so soon? I said I would be. He didn't look at the menu, just at her. And please call me Alexander. Or Alex. We're past formalities, don't you think? Are we? Emma pulled out her order pad. Because from my perspective, you're a customer and I'm your server. That's fairly formal, is it? Alexander leaned back, studying her. Even though I'm about to become your boss? So he was going to address it directly. Emma appreciated that at least. Vincent mentioned you made an offer. A generous one. Why? I told Vincent why. You told Vincent a line about linguistic excellence, Emma corrected. That's not a real reason to buy a restaurant. Alexander's smile widened slightly. Isn't it? I think attention to detail matters in any establishment. Your willingness to correct me suggests this place values precision. That's worth investing in. That's ridiculous, is it? I built a billion-dollar company on the principle that details matter. He tilted his head. You of all people should understand that, Emma. Language is details. Every word choice, every grammatical structure, it all means something. He was right, which annoyed her. What do you want, Alexander? Tonight? Dinner. He finally glanced at the menu. And another one of your perfect sentences. You were right yesterday. I do value precision. So I want to hear more of yours. Emma stared at him. This powerful, wealthy, objectively attractive man was sitting in her section, asking her to construct grammatically perfect sentences like it was the most normal request in the world. You're strange. I've been called worse. He set down the menu. I'll have the osso buco and a bottle of the Barolo. The 2015, if you have it. We do. Emma wrote it down, her handwriting shakier than she'd like. Anything else? Yes. Alexander's blue eyes locked on hers. Tell me why someone with your obvious education and intelligence is working as a waitress. And don't give me the surface answer. I want the real story. Emma's defenses slammed up immediately. That's not on the menu. Consider it a special order. I don't owe you my history just because you're buying this restaurant. You don't, Alexander agreed. But I'm curious about you, Emma Carter. I've been curious since the moment you corrected my grammar with that sharp smile and sharper tongue. I want to know what brought you here, what you're running from. What makes someone so brilliant hide in plain sight? The accuracy of his assessment stole Emma's breath. Maybe I'm not hiding. Maybe I just like working here. Maybe. His gaze was unnervingly direct. But I don't think so. I think you're terrified that someone will look too closely and see who you really are. I think you've been hurt badly enough that you'd rather be invisible than risk being hurt again. Emma felt stripped bare. How could he see so much from 2 brief interactions? You don't know anything about me. Then tell me. Help me understand. Why do you care? Alexander was quiet for a moment, seeming to consider his answer carefully. Because in 15 years of business, I've met thousands of people. Most of them want something from me. Money, connections, opportunities. They smile and agree and tell me I'm brilliant. It's exhausting and boring and fundamentally lonely. He paused. Then you walked up to my table and corrected my grammar like I was a student who disappointed you. No fear, no agenda. Just honest feedback delivered with devastating precision. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Emma's hand tightened on her order pad. So this is what? You're bored and I'm entertaining? No, this is me recognizing something valuable and wanting to understand it better. Alexander's voice dropped lower. This is me being fascinated by a woman who's clearly smarter than I am but is pretending to be someone she's not. This is me wondering what it would take to see the real Emma Carter, not the careful waitress persona. The real Emma Carter isn't very interesting, she managed. I doubt that very much. The air between them felt charged with something Emma couldn't name. Want, maybe. Curiosity, definitely. But also something darker, more dangerous. Alexander Thornton was the kind of man who got what he wanted. And apparently what he wanted right now was her. I'll put in your order, Emma said, retreating before she said something she couldn't take back. In the kitchen, she pressed her back against the wall and tried to calm her racing heart. This was insane. Billionaires didn't pursue waitresses because they had good grammar. There had to be another angle, another reason. Men like Alexander Thornton didn't do anything without calculated purpose. But when she looked back at booth 9, he wasn't on his phone conducting business. He was just sitting there, watching her with an expression that looked almost vulnerable, like he was hoping for something he didn't quite know how to ask for. Emma pushed off the wall. Fine. He wanted to play whatever game this was. She'd play, but on her terms. She approached his table with renewed confidence. Your wine. She poured the Barolo with practiced grace. And since you requested another perfect sentence, here it is. The osso buco, which is Mario's specialty and which features meat so tender it falls off the bone, will arrive in approximately 15 minutes, during which time you should enjoy this wine and contemplate the fact that money cannot, in fact, buy good grammar. Only good grammar teachers. Alexander's laugh was genuine and surprised. Was that a subtle insult? No, that was a blatant insult delivered with impeccable syntax. Emma set down the wine bottle. You wanted precision. I'm giving it to you. You're remarkable. He said it like a fact, not a compliment. I'm annoyed, Emma corrected. You're disrupting my workplace, confusing my boss, and asking invasive personal questions. That's not charming. That's annoying. Noted, but he was smiling. What would be charming? Leaving me alone. Not an option. Alexander sipped his wine, his eyes never leaving hers. I'll make you a deal, Emma. Have dinner with me. A real dinner, not you serving me. Just 2 people having a conversation. If after that dinner you want me to leave you alone, I will. I'll complete the restaurant purchase with Vincent, ensure you keep your job and never bother you again. And if I refuse, then I'll keep coming back here every night, ordering dinner, and asking you questions until you either agree to the dinner or murder me with a steak knife. Either way, I'm persistent. Emma should have been alarmed by his intensity. Instead, she felt something dangerously close to excitement. You're blackmailing me with your own presence. I prefer to think of it as aggressive persuasion. That's definitely blackmail. Semantics. Alexander leaned forward. One dinner, Emma. What's the worst that could happen? Emma could think of about 100 terrible outcomes. But looking at Alexander Thornton, at the genuine interest in his eyes and the slight vulnerability in his smile, she found herself wavering. One dinner, she heard herself say. And then you leave me alone. If that's what you want after, yes, it will be. We'll see. His smile turned devastating. Now about that osso buco. The restaurant Alexander chose wasn't what Emma expected. No pretentious Manhattan hotspot with a 6-month wait list and a menu written in French. Instead, he'd picked a small Japanese place in the East Village, the kind with only 12 seats at a counter and a chef who'd been making sushi for 40 years. Emma had almost canceled 3 times. But something, curiosity or insanity, had kept her from sending that text. Now she stood outside the restaurant at exactly 7 p.m., wearing the one nice dress she owned, a simple black sheath that had survived her teaching days. Her hands trembled slightly as she pushed open the door. Alexander was already there, sitting at the counter in dark jeans and a sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He looked different without the suit, younger, more approachable, still devastatingly handsome in a way that made Emma's stomach flip. "You came," he said, standing as she approached. "I wasn't sure you would. I keep my promises." Emma slid onto the stool beside him, very aware of how close their shoulders were. "Even ones I regret making. Ouch." But he was smiling. "Should I be offended?" "You should be aware that I'm only here because you essentially stalked me into submission." "Persistent courtship," Alexander corrected. "Stalking sounds so criminal." "Semantics?" Emma shot back, using his own word against him. The chef, an elderly Japanese man with kind eyes, approached with warm towels and menus. Alexander ordered in flawless Japanese, which shouldn't have been attractive but absolutely was. Emma caught words like omakase and appreciated Alexander, leaving their meal in the chef's hands. "You speak Japanese," she observed when the chef had moved away to begin preparing their first course. "I lived in Tokyo for 2 years. Built Thornton Technologies' Asian division." Alexander turned to face her fully. "You speak French and Italian, if I'm reading your reaction to our wine list correctly. And obviously English at a level that puts most native speakers to shame. You've been paying attention." "I pay attention to things that interest me." His gaze was direct, unsettling. "And you, Emma Carter, are fascinating." Emma reached for her water glass, needing something to do with her hands. "I'm really not. You've built this idea of me in your head that's not based in reality. Then tell me the reality. Help me understand who you actually are." The chef placed 2 small plates before them, delicate pieces of sashimi arranged like art. Emma focused on the food, buying time. How much should she tell him? How much did he deserve to know? "I grew up in a small town in Connecticut," she began slowly. "My parents were both teachers. Dad taught history, Mom taught math. I was their only child, and they had all these dreams for me. College professor, maybe. Published author. Someone who'd use her mind to change the world." Alexander listened without interrupting, his attention complete and unwavering. "I went to Yale, English literature. Got my master's in education. I wanted to teach high school because I remembered the teachers who'd changed my life, and I wanted to be that for someone else." Emma took a breath. "I got hired at a prestigious prep school in Massachusetts. Dream job. Everything I'd worked for. What happened?" Alexander asked gently. "A student failed my class. His mother was on the board of directors, wealthy, powerful, used to getting what she wanted. She demanded I change his grade. I refused. Academic integrity mattered to me." Emma's jaw tightened at the memory. "So she accused me of having an inappropriate relationship with her son." Alexander went very still. "What?" "She said I'd offered to change his grade in exchange for sexual favors. That I'd sent him inappropriate messages, made advances. Complete fiction, but she had lawyers and money and a very convincing story." Emma forced herself to meet Alexander's eyes. "There was an investigation. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. I was cleared completely, but the damage was done. Let me guess. Even cleared, you were toxic." "Exactly. Parents demanded I be fired for creating such a scandal even though I was the victim. The school asked me to resign quietly. Other schools wouldn't touch me because my name was linked to those accusations. You can't teach when every parent who searches your name finds those stories." Her voice cracked slightly. "I lost everything. My career, my reputation, my parents' pride in me. They died in a car accident 6 months later, and part of me wonders if the stress contributed." Alexander's hand covered hers on the counter, warm and solid. "Emma, I'm so sorry." "Don't." She pulled her hand away, not ready for comfort. "I don't want pity. I just want you to understand that I'm not hiding because I'm mysterious or fascinating. I'm hiding because the world decided I was guilty regardless of facts, and I got tired of fighting. So you came to New York and became invisible. I became someone new. Emma Carter, waitress. No history, no expectations, no one looking too closely. She picked up her chopsticks, her appetite gone but needing the distraction. That's who I am, Alexander. Not some brilliant mystery woman. Just someone who got destroyed by lies and is trying to survive. The silence stretched between them. Emma waited for him to make excuses, to leave, to realize she was too complicated, too damaged. Instead, Alexander said quietly, "My father killed himself when I was 17. Emma's head snapped up. What? He was a high school science teacher. Great at it, loved his students, poured everything into that job. Alexander's voice was carefully controlled. Then budget cuts eliminated his position. He couldn't find another teaching job. The stress of unemployment, of feeling useless, it destroyed him. He hanged himself in our garage. Alexander, I'm so sorry. I found him. Alexander stared at his untouched sake. I came home from school and found him. My mother was at work. It was just me and my dead father and the realization that the world didn't care about good people or important work. It only cared about money. Emma understood now. That's why you built your company. I swore I'd never be powerless again. Never let financial circumstances destroy me or anyone I cared about. So I created Thornton Technologies, made my first million at 23, and kept building until I had enough money that nothing could touch me. He finally looked at her. But somewhere along the way, I forgot why I started. I became the kind of person who values profit over people, who sees everything as a transaction, until a waitress corrected your grammar, until a brilliant woman reminded me that some things matter more than money, like truth, like integrity, like having the courage to stand up to someone even when it's not convenient or safe. Alexander's smile was sad. You thought I was buying the restaurant to pursue you. Maybe that's partly true, but mostly I was buying it because you made me remember who I wanted to be before I became who I am. The vulnerability in his voice undid something in Emma's chest. She'd built him up as this cold, calculating billionaire. But he was just a man carrying his own damage, trying to figure out how to be good in a world that rewarded being ruthless. We're both kind of disasters, aren't we? She said softly, spectacularly. Alexander picked up his sake, raising it slightly. To disasters finding each other. Emma touched her glass to his. To temporary dinners with no expectations. You still think this is temporary? I think you'll get bored once you realize I'm not actually that interesting. Emma. Alexander set down his glass, turning to face her fully. I've dated actresses, models, businesswomen, brilliant, beautiful people who knew exactly what to say and how to impress me, and I was bored within weeks because none of them challenged me. None of them looked at me and saw past the money and power to the person underneath. And you think I do? I think you corrected my grammar without caring that I could make your life difficult. I think you told me your devastating story without expecting anything in return. I think you're sitting here in a dress that's been altered twice and shoes that are worn at the heels, and you're still the most captivating person I've met in years. His voice dropped. So no, Emma, I don't think I'll get bored. Emma couldn't breathe. No one had looked at her like this in 2 years. Like she mattered. Like she was worth seeing. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Do what? Be seen again. Let someone in. Risk getting hurt when it all falls apart. Then don't think about the future. Just be here now. Have dinner with a man who finds you fascinating and wants to know everything about you. Alexander's smile turned gentle. We'll worry about tomorrow when it comes. The chef placed more courses before them. Nigiri that melted on the tongue, miso soup that warmed from the inside. They ate and talked, the conversation flowing easier than Emma expected. Alexander told her about building his company, the mistakes and victories. Emma shared memories of teaching, the students who'd made her laugh and the lessons that had changed her perspective. Hours passed like minutes. The restaurant emptied around them until they were the only customers left, and still they talked. About books and travel, about dreams deferred and second chances, about the weight of expectations and the freedom of starting over. I should go, Emma said finally, glancing at her phone. It's almost midnight. Cinderella moment. More like I have an early shift tomorrow and I need some sleep. She stood, and Alexander stood with her. Thank you for dinner. It was better than I expected, damning with faint praise. But his eyes were warm. Can I see you again? You said one dinner and then you'd leave me alone. I said if that's what you wanted after, I'd leave you alone. Is that what you want, Emma? She should say yes. Should protect herself from whatever this was before it could hurt her. But looking at Alexander, at the hope and vulnerability in his expression, Emma found she couldn't lie. No, she admitted. I don't want you to leave me alone. Alexander's smile could have lit the entire city. Tomorrow night. I'll pick you up after your shift. That's presumptuous. That's persistent. There's a difference. Emma laughed despite herself. Fine, tomorrow, but I'm choosing the place this time. Deal. Outside the restaurant, Alexander insisted on getting her a car. As Emma slid into the back seat, he leaned into the window. Emma? For what it's worth, you're wrong. About what? About not being interesting. You're the most interesting person I've ever met. He stepped back, hands in his pockets. Sleep well. As the car pulled away, Emma watched him in the side mirror until he disappeared. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. How did it go? Emma typed back, I think I'm in trouble. Sarah's response was immediate. Good trouble or bad trouble? Emma looked out at the Manhattan skyline, at the city that had been her hiding place for 2 years. For the first time since everything fell apart, she felt something other than fear about the future. I don't know yet, but I think I want to find out. 3 weeks can change everything. That's what you need to understand about Emma and Alexander's story. 3 weeks of dinners and late-night conversations and slowly learning to trust again. 3 weeks of Emma feeling like maybe, just maybe, she could have something good without it being destroyed. And then Victoria Ashford walked into Riverside Cafe. Emma was refilling the coffee station when the door opened, bringing with it the kind of woman who made everyone in the room instinctively straighten their posture. Tall, blonde, immaculately dressed in a cream-colored suit that screamed old money. She moved through the restaurant like she owned it, her eyes scanning the space with cool assessment before landing on Emma. You must be Emma Carter. Her voice was cultured, crisp. I'm Victoria Ashford. We need to talk. Emma's professional smile felt brittle. I'm working right now. If you'd like a table. This isn't a social call. Victoria glanced around, noting the other diners. Is there somewhere private we can speak? Every instinct screamed danger, but Emma found herself nodding, leading Victoria to Vincent's office in the back. The older woman settled into a chair like it was a throne, crossing her legs with deliberate elegance. I'll get straight to the point, Victoria said. You're dating Alexander Thornton? It wasn't a question, but Emma answered anyway. I don't see how that's your business. It's my business because Alexander and I have been together for 5 years. Victoria's smile was sharp as broken glass. We have an understanding. He conducts his little dalliances, I ignore them, and eventually he comes back to reality. To me, to the life we're building together. Emma felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. He never mentioned you. Why would he? You're a waitress he met 3 weeks ago. I'm the woman he's building an empire with. Victoria pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos with practiced ease. Here we are at the Met Gala. This is from his company retreat in Aspen. Oh, and this one is from 2 weeks ago at his mother's birthday dinner. 2 weeks ago. When Alexander had told Emma he had a business dinner and couldn't see her. Emma stared at the photo, at Alexander's arm around Victoria's waist, both of them smiling for the camera like the perfect power couple. I see he's been quite thorough in his deception, Victoria observed, reading Emma's expression. Let me guess. He told you that you were special, different from everyone else, that you challenged him in ways no one else could. Emma's silence was answer enough. He uses that line on all of them, the brilliant ones anyway. Alexander gets bored easily. He needs intellectual stimulation, so he finds smart, accomplished women and makes them feel seen. Then he gets what he wants and moves on. Victoria's eyes were cold. You're just the latest in a long line, Emma. Nothing special about you except your timing. Get out. Emma's voice shook with rage and humiliation. I'm trying to help you. Save you the embarrassment of thinking this was real. Victoria stood, smoothing her suit. Alexander Thornton doesn't end up with waitresses. He ends up with women who can match his wealth, his status, his ambitions. We're announcing our engagement next month. I thought you deserved to know before you embarrassed yourself further. After Victoria left, Emma sat in Vincent's office and tried to breathe through the panic. Everything Victoria said made horrible sense. Alexander's expensive clothes, his easy confidence with power, his ability to buy an entire restaurant on a whim. Why would someone like that seriously pursue someone like her? Her phone buzzed. Alexander, finished early. Picking you up at 9? Emma stared at the message. She should confront him, demand the truth. But looking at those words on her screen, remembering how he'd looked at her last night when he'd kissed her goodnight, She couldn't quite make herself believe Victoria's story, so she texted back, "See you then." Alexander arrived at exactly 9, his face lighting up when he saw her in a way that seemed impossible to fake. He'd brought flowers, simple daisies that probably cost nothing but made Emma's throat tight because he'd remembered she'd mentioned they were her favorite. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek. "How was your shift?" "Fine." Emma took the flowers, trying to study him for signs of deception. "How was your day?" "Long, boring investor meetings." He held the restaurant door open for her. "I kept thinking about tonight." "About you." They walked to a small wine bar in the neighborhood, Alexander's hand warm on her lower back. Emma tried to enjoy it, tried to pretend Victoria Ashford hadn't just blown apart her fragile trust. But every touch felt tainted now, every smile suspect. "You're quiet tonight," Alexander observed once they were seated with glasses of wine. "Everything okay? Who's Victoria Ashford?" The question came out harder than Emma intended. Alexander went very still. "Where did you hear that name?" "She came to the restaurant today. Told me some interesting things about your relationship." Emma watched his face carefully. "About how you've been together for 5 years. About your upcoming engagement announcement." "Emma, is it true? Are you engaged to her?" "No." Alexander's answer was immediate and firm. "I'm not engaged to Victoria. We're not together. She had photos, you and her, 2 weeks ago at your mother's birthday." Alexander closed his eyes briefly. "Victoria is my business partner. We co-founded Thornton Technologies. We were together years ago, but we ended that relationship long before I met you. She says you have an understanding, that you have your flings and always come back to her. That's what Victoria wants people to believe." Alexander leaned forward, his voice urgent. "Emma, listen to me. Victoria and I were engaged 5 years ago. I broke it off when I realized she cared more about my money and status than she cared about me. She's never accepted that. She shows up to company events, implies we're still together, makes it difficult for me to date anyone seriously. Why not just cut her out of your company?" "Because she owns 40% of Thornton Technologies. We're legally bound as business partners, even if we're not together personally." Alexander reached for Emma's hand. "I should have told you about her. I was trying to keep you separate from that part of my life, and that was wrong." Emma wanted to believe him. But Victoria's words echoed in her mind. "How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know I'm not just your latest intellectual conquest?" Pain flashed across Alexander's face. "Is that what she told you? That you're just another bored distraction?" "She said you make brilliant women feel special, then disappear when you're bored. And you believed her?" "I don't know what to believe." Emma pulled her hand away. "Alexander, look at us. Really look. You're a billionaire tech CEO. I'm a waitress with a destroyed reputation and enough baggage to sink a ship. This doesn't make sense. Love doesn't have to make sense." The word hung between them. Love. Neither of them had said it before. Alexander looked almost surprised that it had slipped out. "Did you just—" Emma's voice caught. "Yes." Alexander's jaw set with determination. "I love you, Emma. I've been falling in love with you since the moment you corrected my grammar and looked at me like I was just another person, not a bank account. I love your intelligence and your sharp tongue and the way you pretend to be fine when you're hurting. I love that you challenge me and see through my defenses and make me want to be better." Tears burned Emma's eyes. "You can't just say that and expect it to fix everything." "I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm telling you the truth." He stood, tossing money on the table. "Come with me. Right now. I'll prove Victoria's lying." "How?" "By showing you something I've never shown anyone else." 20 minutes later, they were in Alexander's penthouse apartment, and Emma was staring at a wall she never expected to see. Photos, dozens of them. Alexander with his father, both of them laughing. Alexander as a teenager, awkward and thin. His mother on the day he graduated from MIT. No glamorous shots, no magazine spreads, just real moments from a real life. "This is who I was," Alexander said quietly, standing beside her. "Before the money, before Thornton Technologies. Just a kid from Rochester who wanted to make sure his mom never had to worry about bills again." He moved to a desk in the corner, pulling out a folder. "These are the original partnership documents for Thornton Technologies. Victoria invested early, which is why she owns 40%. But look at the date. 5 years ago. The same year I ended our engagement." Emma scanned the documents. The dates matched his story. And this, Alexander pulled out his phone, opening his email, is a message from Victoria from 3 days ago. She's threatening to torpedo our latest acquisition deal unless I agree to pose as her boyfriend at her father's birthday party next month. She does this constantly, uses our business partnership to manipulate me into maintaining the appearance that we're together. The email was exactly as he described, professional blackmail wrapped in cordial language. I'm handling it, Alexander continued. My lawyers are working on buying out her shares. It's complicated and expensive, but I'm done letting her control my life. He set down his phone, meeting Emma's eyes. I should have told you all this before. I was trying to protect you from the mess, but instead I left you vulnerable to her manipulation. Emma sank onto his couch, overwhelmed. Why me, Alexander? You could have anyone. Someone without complications, without scandal, without all my damage. Because everyone else wanted Alexander Thornton, billionaire CEO. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands. You wanted me to have better grammar. You didn't care about my money or status. You cared that I was imprecise with language. His laugh was soft, almost disbelieving. Do you know how rare that is? How valuable? I'm still scared, Emma whispered. That this isn't real. That you'll wake up and realize I'm not worth the trouble. Then be scared with me. Because I'm terrified too. Terrified that you'll decide I'm too complicated, too much. That my world is too toxic to tolerate. Alexander squeezed her hands. But I'd rather be terrified with you than comfortable with anyone else. Emma looked at this man kneeling before her, offering her his truth and his heart. She thought about the past 2 years of hiding, of being invisible, of convincing herself she didn't deserve good things. And she thought about the past 3 weeks, of feeling seen and valued and alive again. I love you too. She heard herself say, I've been trying not to, trying to protect myself. But I love you, Alexander. His kiss was gentle at first, then desperate, years of loneliness and walls finally crumbling between them. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Alexander rested his forehead against hers. We'll figure out, Victoria. We'll figure out all of it. His voice was rough with emotion. Just don't leave. Please don't leave. I'm not going anywhere, Emma promised. And for the first time since her world had fallen apart 2 years ago, she actually believed in her own words. Outside Alexander's windows, Manhattan glittered with 1,000,000 lights and 1,000,000 possibilities. Emma Carter had spent 2 years learning to be invisible. But with Alexander, she was finally learning to be seen again. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth the risk. You know how they say when things are going well, that's when everything falls apart? Emma should have seen it coming. 3 days after her confrontation with Victoria, 3 blissful days of believing she and Alexander could actually work, the past came knocking. It started with a phone call during her lunch break. Unknown number. Emma almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Emma Carter? A woman's voice, professional and detached. Speaking. This is Jennifer Walsh from the New York Times. I'm running a story about Alexander Thornton's relationship history, and your name came up. I was hoping you'd comment on the nature of your relationship with Mr. Thornton. Emma's blood went cold. I have nothing to say. I understand you worked at Riverside Cafe when Mr. Thornton purchased the establishment. Some sources suggest the purchase was motivated by personal interest rather than business investment. Would you say that's accurate? Who are your sources? I can't reveal that, but I should mention we've also uncovered information about your previous employment, the accusations at Brookfield Prep. Some people are questioning whether Mr. Thornton is aware of your history. Emma hung up, her hands shaking. She knew exactly who the source was. Victoria was making her move. The article published the next morning. Emma saw it while opening the restaurant, her face staring back at her from the New York Times website. The headline made her stomach lurch. Tech billionaire's new romance raises questions about judgment and due diligence. The piece was devastating in its precision. It detailed Emma's scandal, painting her as a manipulative teacher who'd escaped consequences through legal technicalities. It implied she'd seduced Alexander for financial gain, that he was being exploited by a woman with questionable character. and it featured extensive quotes from close friends of Thornton, suggesting concern about his recent erratic behavior. Victoria's fingerprints were all over it. Emma's phone exploded with messages. Sarah, concerned. Vincent, confused. Her former colleagues from Massachusetts dragging up old wounds. And worst of all, reporters calling for comment, for interviews, for more blood in the water. Alexander called within minutes. Emma, don't read it. Whatever it says, too late. She stared at her photo on the screen. Victoria really went nuclear, didn't she? I'm handling it. My PR team is drafting a response. We'll sue for defamation. Alexander, stop. Emma's voice was surprisingly calm. You can't fix this with lawyers and money. The damage is done. Everyone who searches my name will find this article. Everyone in your world will question your judgment for being with me. I don't care what they think. You should. Your company, your reputation, your business relationships, all of it matters. Emma closed her eyes. This is exactly what I was afraid of. That getting close to me would destroy you the way it destroyed me. That's not going to happen. It already is happening. She fought back tears. Alexander, that article isn't wrong. I am a scandal. I do have a destroyed reputation. And Victoria is right that people in your world will never accept someone like me. Then they can go to hell. Emma, listen to me. No, you listen. She took a breath. I love you, which is exactly why I can't let you sacrifice everything you've built for me. Victoria owns 40% of your company. She can make your business life impossible. And now she's shown she's willing to destroy both of us publicly. How long before investors start questioning your leadership? Before board members demand you distance yourself from the liability I represent? The silence on the other end told her everything. Alexander knew she was right. He just didn't want to admit it. So what are you saying? His voice was strained. That we just give up? Let Victoria win? I'm saying maybe she's right. Maybe we don't make sense. Maybe I'm not worth the cost. Don't you dare. Alexander's voice turned sharp. Don't you dare let her make you believe you're not worth fighting for. Then what do we do? How do we fight someone who's willing to destroy everything? I don't know yet, but I'm not losing you, Emma. I refuse. But over the next week, the pressure mounted from every direction. Thornton Technologies' stock took a hit as investors worried about Alexander's judgment. Board members called emergency meetings. 3 major clients requested reassurance about leadership stability. And Victoria played her hand perfectly. She appeared in interviews expressing concerned friendship for Alexander. I just hope he's thinking clearly, she told Bloomberg. Alexander is brilliant, but even brilliant people can be manipulated by the right person. I hope this woman genuinely cares about him and isn't just after his money. The implication was clear and devastating. Emma watched from her apartment as her relationship became Manhattan gossip, as strangers on social media debated whether she was a gold digger or Alexander was having a midlife crisis at 34. Sarah came over on the 5th day, bearing wine and solidarity. Okay, I know you're spiraling, but you need to see something. She pulled up Alexander's Twitter account. He'd posted a statement an hour ago, simple and direct. I'm in love with Emma Carter. She's the most intelligent, principled person I've ever met. Anyone who has a problem with that can deal with me directly. Emma stared at the screen. The post had 200,000 likes already. Comments ranged from supportive to vicious, but Alexander had put his reputation on the line publicly. For her, he's an idiot, Emma whispered. He's in love. Sarah squeezed her hand. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What could she do? Emma had spent 2 years running from her past, from risk, from anything that might hurt her again. Alexander was offering her everything, but the cost felt impossibly high. His company, his peace, his entire life disrupted because of her. The decision was taken out of her hands 2 days later. Vincent called her into his office, his expression grave. Emma, we need to talk about the restaurant. Her stomach dropped. Vincent, if this is about the publicity, it's about Victoria Ashford. He handed her a legal document. She's suing me for fraud. Claims I knew about your history when I hired. Ewan deliberately hid it from Alexander before he purchased the restaurant. She's demanding he reverse the sale and she's threatening to shut us down for breach of contract. Emma scanned the lawsuit, her vision blurring. This is insane. You had no idea about Massachusetts when you hired me, and Alexander's purchase had nothing to do with— I know that. You know that. But Victoria has expensive lawyers and a vendetta. Vincent looked older suddenly, tired. Emma, I've owned this place for 30 years. It's my life. I can't afford to fight this kind of legal battle. So what are you saying? I'm saying maybe you should talk to Alexander. See if there's a way to resolve this before it destroys everything we've all built. Emma left the restaurant in a daze. Victoria had found the perfect pressure point. Not Alexander's company or Emma's reputation, but the innocent people caught in their crossfire. Vincent, who'd given her a job when no one else would. The other staff at Riverside who needed their paychecks. All of them collateral damage in Victoria's war. She went to Alexander's office without calling first. His assistant tried to stop her, but Emma pushed past into his private space where Alexander sat behind his desk, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Emma. He stood immediately. What's wrong? Victoria's suing Vincent. She's threatening to destroy the restaurant unless you reverse the purchase and presumably end things with me. Emma's voice was remarkably steady. She's going after everyone I care about. Everyone who's helped me. Alexander's face went dark with rage. She can, and she will. Because she knows I won't let innocent people suffer because of me. Emma forced herself to say what she'd been avoiding. Alexander, maybe we need to accept that this isn't working. That we're causing more damage than we're preventing. No. He came around the desk. Emma, no, we'll fight this. I'll pay for Vincent's legal defense. Oh, and then what? She'll go after someone else. My former students, your business partners, anyone connected to us. Victoria won't stop until one of us breaks. Emma's eyes burned. I can't watch everyone I care about get destroyed. Not again. So you're just going to give up? Let her win? I'm trying to minimize casualties. What about us? What about what we have? Alexander grabbed her shoulders, desperate. Emma, I love you. Doesn't that matter? It matters too much. Tears finally spilled over. It matters so much that I can't let you keep sacrificing for me. Your company is suffering. Your reputation is damaged. And now innocent people are being sued. How is that love? How is that anything but selfish? It's selfish to fight for what we want. It's selfish to let everyone else burn so we can be happy? Emma pulled away. Alexander, if you really love me, you'll let me go. You'll tell Victoria she won. You'll reverse the restaurant purchase and walk away clean. Save your company, save Vincent, save everyone. And what about saving you? I'm not worth saving at this cost. Alexander looked at her like she'd stabbed him. I can't believe you actually think that. After everything, you still believe you're not worth fighting for. I believe in protecting people I care about. And right now, the best way to protect everyone is to end this before Victoria destroys more lives. Emma backed toward the door. I'm sorry, Alexander. I really am. Emma, wait. But she was already gone, walking out of his office and his life before she could change her mind. Before she could be selfish enough to stay and watch everyone burn. Outside, Manhattan moved around her with indifferent speed. Emma Carter had tried to be seen again, tried to believe she deserved good things. But Victoria Ashford had reminded her why she'd been hiding in the first place. Some people were too damaged, too toxic, too much trouble. And maybe it was better to accept that than keep fighting a losing battle. Her phone buzzed. Alexander, this isn't over. I won't let her win. I won't let you disappear. But Emma knew better. Victoria had already won. The only question was how much more damage would happen before everyone else realized it. She turned off her phone and headed home, back to her small apartment and her small life, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life or the only rational decision available. Either way, it hurt the same. 2 weeks. That's how long Emma lasted before the breaking point. 2 weeks of silence from Alexander, of watching from afar as Victoria Ashford appeared at Thornton Technologies events, her hand possessively on Alexander's arm. 2 weeks of telling herself she'd made the right choice while feeling like she'd carved out her own heart. The final straw came on a rainy Tuesday morning. Emma was opening the restaurant when Vincent called her into his office, his expression unreadable. The lawsuit's been dropped, he said without preamble. Victoria Ashford withdrew everything. No explanation, just gone. Emma's heart stuttered. What? Why? I don't know. But there's more. Vincent handed her an envelope. This was delivered this morning. For you. Inside was a single key and a note in Alexander's precise handwriting. The old building on Mercer Street. 3rd floor. Come alone, please. Emma stared at the address. She knew that building. An old warehouse in Soho that had been empty for years. What was Alexander doing there? Go, Vincent said, reading her expression. Whatever this is, you need to see it. The warehouse was exactly as Emma remembered. Red brick and iron fire escapes. A relic from when Soho was manufacturing instead of galleries. She climbed to the 3rd floor, her footsteps echoing in the empty stairwell, and unlocked the heavy door. What she found inside stole her breath. The entire floor had been transformed into a library. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined every wall, filled with thousands of books. Comfortable reading chairs clustered near tall windows. Small tables perfect for writing or studying. And in the center, a teaching space with a whiteboard and desks arranged in a circle. Alexander stood in the middle of it all, looking exhausted and hopeful and terrified. You came. What is this? Emma whispered, turning in a slow circle. She recognized some of the books. Her favorite novels, classic literature, modern poetry. Alexander, what did you do? I built you a school. His voice was quiet. Not a traditional school, more like a literary center. A place where you can teach again, but on your own terms. Adult education, writing workshops, book clubs. Whatever you want it to be. Emma's eyes burned. You can't just build me a school. Why not? I built a tech company from nothing. This is just repurposing space and buying books. He stepped closer. Emma, I know you're scared. I know Victoria made you believe that being with me means everyone gets hurt. But what if you're wrong? What if the answer isn't running away, but building something new? The lawsuit is gone because I bought out Victoria's shares. All 40%. It cost me $300 million and a week of brutal negotiations. But she's out. Completely. No more business partnership. No more leverage. No more Victoria Ashford controlling my life or yours. Emma stared at him. $300 million. Best money I ever spent. Alexander's smile was tired but genuine. She wanted to make me choose between you and my company. So I chose both. I kept my company and I'm keeping you. If you'll still have me. Alexander, I walked away. I told you. You told me you were protecting everyone you love. I heard you. And I'm telling you that the best way to protect the people you love is to live your life fully. To build things. To teach and inspire and be exactly who you're meant to be. He gestured to the library around them. This place, it's not about money or grand gestures. It's about giving you back what was stolen. Your voice. Your purpose. Your ability to change lives through literature. Emma walked to the nearest shelf, running her fingers over the spines. Shakespeare, Austen, Morrison, Baldwin. Every author she'd ever taught. Every book she'd ever loved. How did you know? I paid attention. Every time you mentioned a book or quoted something or lit up talking about teaching, I paid attention to you, Emma, because you matter. You've always mattered. Tears spilled over before she could stop them. I'm terrified that this won't last. That something will go wrong. That I'll lose everything again, then be terrified. I'm terrified too. Alexander closed the distance between them. I'm terrified that you'll decide I'm not worth the risk, that my world is too complicated, that loving me costs too much. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe with anyone else. You said that before. I meant it then. I mean it now. I'll mean it every day for the rest of my life if you let me. His hands framed her face, gentle and sure. Emma Carter, I love you. I love your brilliant mind and your sharp wit and the way you correct my grammar. I love that you make me want to be better. That you see me, not my bank account. I love you enough to spend $300 million to make sure no one can hurt you again. That's insane. Probably. But I'm told love makes people do insane things. His smile turned soft. Marry me. Emma's brain short-circuited. What? Marry me. Not today, not tomorrow. Whenever you're ready. But marry me, Emma. Build this life with me. Teach in your library. Correct my grammar. Challenge me every single day. Be my partner in everything. Alexander, we've only known each other for 2 months. I knew I loved you after 3 weeks. The rest has just been me trying to prove I'm worthy of you. His thumbs brushed away her tears. I'm not asking for an answer right now. I'm asking you to consider that maybe, just maybe, we deserve good things. Both of us. Despite our pasts and our damage and all the reasons this shouldn't work. Emma looked around the library he'd built for her. The books, the teaching space, the windows overlooking Soho. He'd listened to every word she'd ever said about teaching, about literature, about what she'd lost. And he'd recreated it, transformed it into something new. I don't have a ring yet, Alexander continued. I wanted you to choose it. I wanted you to have a say in everything. This library, our future, all of it. I'm not trying to save you or fix you. I'm asking you to build something new with me, as equals. You spent $300 million to get rid of Victoria. Best investment I ever made. And you built me a library. Best gift I could think of. His voice dropped. But Emma, I need you to understand something. I didn't do this to obligate you. If you walk out of here and never want to see me again, this library is still yours. It's in your name. Legally, permanently yours. No strings attached. Emma stared at him. You're giving me a library with no strings attached? I'm giving you back your dream. What you do with it is up to you. Alexander stepped back, giving her space. And what you do about us is also up to you. I'll wait as long as you need. I'll prove myself every day if that's what it takes. But Emma, please don't run because you're scared. Run because you genuinely don't want this. Otherwise, stay. Fight with me. Build with me. The weight of the decision pressed down on Emma's chest. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was too fast, too much, too risky. But her heart, the part that had been dormant for 2 years, was louder. I'm not good at this, she said finally. At trusting, at believing good things can last. Victoria proved that. She came after everyone I cared about, and I stopped her. Not because I'm some white knight, but because I refused to let fear win. I refuse to let damaged people like Victoria convince us we don't deserve happiness. Alexander's intensity was almost overwhelming. Emma, we're both broken, both carrying damage. But maybe broken people can build something beautiful together. Maybe our cracks are where the light gets in? Did you just quote Leonard Cohen at me? I've been reading poetry. His smile was sheepish. Trying to understand what you love about it. Turns out Cohen was right about a lot of things. Emma laughed through her tears. You're ridiculous. I'm in love. There's a difference. She walked to the windows, looking out at Manhattan spread below them. 2 years ago, she'd come to this city to disappear, to be no one, and somehow, impossibly, she'd found someone who made her want to be seen again. The library needs a name, she said quietly. Alexander's breath caught. You're accepting it? I'm accepting the library. The marriage proposal might need more discussion. She turned to face him. But yes, I want this. I want to teach again, to build something meaningful. And us? Emma crossed to him, rising on her toes to kiss him softly. I love you. I'm terrified and probably making a huge mistake, but I love you, Alexander Thornton. You infuriating, persistent, grammatically challenged man. His laugh was pure relief as he wrapped her in his arms. I'll take it. I'll take terrified love over nothing any day. We need rules, though. Boundaries. I'm not becoming some trophy girlfriend. You could never be just anything. You're Emma Carter. You're extraordinary. I'm serious. I need my independence. My own life. This library, my teaching, it has to be mine. Not an extension of you. Agreed. Completely. Alexander pulled back enough to look at her. I don't want to own you, Emma. I want to build alongside you. 2 separate people who choose each other every day. And if I still want to work at Riverside, then you work at Riverside. Though Vincent might promote you to manager now that you're dating the owner. No special treatment. You corrected my grammar on day 1. I don't think special treatment is something you need to worry about. His smile was soft. Emma, I'm not trying to change your life. I'm trying to add to it. You decide what that looks like. She studied his face, seeing the sincerity there. Alexander Thornton, billionaire CEO, was offering her everything while demanding nothing. Somehow, impossibly, she'd found someone who saw her completely and loved what he saw. The library, she said. It needs to be affordable, accessible, not some exclusive club for the wealthy. Your library, your rules. I'm just the funding, and you have to take a grammar course. Properly learn sentence structure. Alexander laughed. Deal. Will you teach it? Obviously, someone needs to fix your linguistic disasters. See, this is why I love you. You're already criticizing me and we're not even engaged yet. Emma smiled against his chest. About that engagement thing, take your time. I'm patient. 3 months. Ask me again in 3 months. If we survive that, maybe I'll say yes. 3 months. Alexander agreed. I'll prove every day that I'm worth the risk. You already have. Emma kissed him again, deeper this time. You built me a library, Alexander. You listened to every word I said about what I'd lost and you gave it back to me. That's worth more than any ring. So, is that a yes to the proposal or a yes to thinking about the proposal? It's a yes to building something together, one day at a time. No running, no hiding, just us, being terrified and brave and stupidly hopeful. Best answer I've ever gotten. Outside the windows, Manhattan continued its endless movement. But inside the library, surrounded by thousands of stories, Emma Carter and Alexander Thornton held each other and began writing their own. 3 months later, when Alexander asked again with a ring chosen together and promises made of equality and partnership, Emma said yes without hesitation. They married in the library, surrounded by books and friends, and Vincent insisting on catering because nobody celebrates without proper Italian food, and if Alexander's wedding vows included a promise to always accept grammatical corrections gracefully, and Emma's included a promise to love him despite his terrible sentence structure, well, that was just perfectly them.